The 10 most memorable anime entrances. Being an overpowered character is easy, but what I really want to see is an epic entrance, the kind that leaves a permanent mark on anime history. And if you think this list is just going to be Naruto and Bleach, you're dead wrong. Stick with me because I guarantee you're in for some surprises. If there's one thing that blows my mind, it's those legendary moments where a character shows up at the most chaotic possible moment. You know that situation where all hope is lost and then, boom, some absolute monster arrives to turn the tide, or at least try to, because let's be honest, it doesn't always go as planned. But hey, it's the thought that counts. Oh, and just a heads up before we begin. This list isn't ranked from worst to best or anything like that. I'm not saying one is the greatest while the rest are trash, okay? The idea here is just to relive some of the most incredible anime entrances ever. And before we jump into the list, you already know what to do. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss anything and you'll be helping out the channel a ton. Alright, now let's get to the list before I talk too much. 10. Kaido, One Piece. One Piece is packed with insanely powerful villains, but the way Kaido made his entrance, that was on a whole other level. Out of nowhere, this gigantic monster drops from a cloud, and we finally see who he is. And he's not just the strongest man in the world. Kaido is the strongest creature in the world. In a one-on-one fight, always bet on him. The King of Beasts is the most powerful pirate across land, sea, and sky. And right there on the spot, he declares that he's about to start the greatest war the world has ever seen. And well, he wasn't kidding. 9. Alucard Hellsing. In the middle of one of the biggest and most dangerous wars the world has ever seen, where armies of monsters are tearing each other apart, something unexpected happens. A moment of absolute silence. Suddenly everyone stops, because they hear the sound of a ghost ship approaching. And who's aboard? Alucard, eager to crush some fools. The sheer silence that fell over the deadliest threats in the world when they realized Alucard was coming. Now that was legendary. 8. Manigoldo, Saint Seiya, The Lost Canvas. Saint Seiya is a classic, and Lost Canvas is one of the best versions of the franchise. And man, when Manigoldo jumps onto the table of two gods and just starts mocking them, that was insane. The mix of courage and pure madness it takes to stand face to face with Thanatos and Hypnos created one of those rare moments where you feel both fear and admiration at the same time. Sure, Thanatos stopped Manigoldo's punch with a simple chess piece soon after, but still, that entrance was legendary. 7. Whitebeard, One Piece. Normally, when an ally is captured, there isn't much you can do. The usual approach is to come up with a stealthy plan, sneak in, and rescue them without drawing attention. But Whitebeard, he charges straight into enemy territory, declares war against the full force of the Navy, and takes on the entire world with just his crew. This was one of the craziest moments and the biggest climax in One Piece up to that point. And of course, honorable mention to Shanks' arrival at Marineford, because his entrance was so epic that it ended the war the very moment he showed up. 6. Netero, Hunter x Hunter. In the most epic arc of Hunter x Hunter, during one of the most intense moments in the entire story, when it seemed like everything was about to fall apart, it starts to rain. But this wasn't just any rain. It was a meteor storm crashing down from a giant dragon in the sky. And in the midst of all that destruction, Pitou finally lays eyes on the most badass man in that world, Isaac Netero, dressed in training clothes and socks, casually mocking the Chimera ants. Old men in anime need legendary entrances, and Netero definitely delivered. 5. Dio Brando, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. After an entire saga of traveling across the world, cheating death at every turn, searching for clues to finally take down Dio, the moment finally arrives. And the best part? No one had any idea what Dio's stand actually did. The way JoJo built up that mystery was perfect. The fear of the unknown kept growing until Polnareff finally came face to face with Dio. And then came the reveal of a power so sinister no one could even comprehend what was happening. This entrance is one of the moments that defined JoJo's Bizarre Adventure forever. For Madara Uchiha Naruto Shippuden, do I even need to explain? This was the scene that broke the internet when it happened. In the middle of the biggest war in history, a war that only started because people feared this man's name, Madara Uchiha descends from the sky like some kind of god of destruction. 3. Ichigo Kurosaki, Bleach. I could have picked the scene where Ichigo returns from the Dangai to destroy Aizen, and it would have been completely valid for this video. But let's be real. Ichigo's entrance to save Rukia was legendary. He arrives at the exact moment, stopping the power of 1,000,000 Sakuts like it's nothing, completely changing the course of the story. Ichigo went through everything to save Rukia, and up until that moment, it felt like none of it had mattered. This was where everything truly changed, because saving Rukia shaped the future of Bleach forever. 2. Levi Ackerman, Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan is one of those animes that perfectly captures the feeling of absolute despair, that sense that victory is impossible, and that was exactly what was happening until he showed up. At the worst possible moment, when all hope seemed lost, the strongest soldier in humanity emerges to completely annihilate everything in the best way possible. Levi's first appearance instantly made it clear that someone far above the average had arrived. The Titans, who once seemed unstoppable, fell before him like they were nothing. I'll add a few more that I remember here. Roy Mustang, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Another scene where everything seemed lost. The heroes were on the verge of collapse. Alphonse was falling apart. And after one of those anime speeches that make everything more emotional, something happens. Mustang is back to save the day. And the best part. When Alphonse saw Mustang, he immediately created a barrier to protect himself. Why? Because he already knew exactly what was about to happen. And then lust burned, burned, and burned until there was nothing left. One of the most epic scenes in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, All Might, My Hero Academia. Honestly, I could put any All Might entrance here because every time he shows up, he steals the show. But there are two moments that are simply unmatched. His arrival at UA to save the students from Shigaraki, an already epic entrance and one of the best moments in the anime. His battle against All for One. If there was ever a moment that pushed All Might and his voice actor to their absolute limits, it was this one. The Plus Ultra against Nomu and the United States of Smash against All for One are moments that can't even be described. If you've seen them, you know exactly what I'm talking about. 1. Naruto Uzumaki, Naruto Shippuden. How could this entrance not be here? If this isn't the most iconic anime entrance, it's definitely one of the most impactful. After all the emotional weight of Jiraiya's death, after Kakashi's death, after watching the Hidden Leaf Village get completely destroyed, the impossible happened. And at the exact moment when everyone needed him the most, Naruto appears. But this wasn't just an entrance. This was a triumphant arrival. New powers, new attire, standing atop a giant toad, which was standing on top of an army of giant toads. Even Kishimoto himself admitted that Pain was originally supposed to be weaker in this fight, with fewer active paths. But he chose to keep everything at maximum power to make sure this battle was perfect. And it was. Naruto's arrival, Pain's speech, the fight, the message, a landmark moment in anime history. And now I want to hear from you. Which epic entrance was missing from this list? Maybe something from Dragon Ball? Bleach again, perhaps? Comment below because I need to know. And more importantly, did any of these scenes make you start watching one of these anime? You already know, drop a comment because I'm reading all of them.